Well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to pick some games for you guys. We got some big games coming up this week. We actually have more ranked matchups than we thought that we would have because the rankings came out on Tuesday. So we got a couple good ones for you. We're going to get into it, starting out with our game of the week. Isaac, why don't you tell the folks what our game of the week is?
Folks, our game of the week is going to be 7th ranked Tennessee, the Gaudy Orange Volunteers, if you will, traveling to 12th ranked Georgia in Athens on Saturday night at 7:30 p.m.
And a big game it shall be. We are in for a good one here. Last time Tennessee came to our place, we absolutely put the smack down on them. ESPN FPI actually says Georgia has a 62% chance to win this game, and the spread is actually Georgia by 10, which is surprising considering the loss that Georgia's coming off of. But we'll get to that in a minute. Tennessee, they're sitting at one loss. They're coming off a solid win against Mississippi State, and they're looking to come to Athens and get their first win against Georgia since 2016. And they're still in the running for the SEC championship. Actually, like we mentioned on Wednesday, after we watched the rankings, they have one loss to Arkansas earlier this season, but they have that big win over Bama. So they're still in the running for that championship. Georgia, however, coming off their first loss to a team not named Alabama since 2020 after they lost to Ole Miss on the road. And it is their first loss to Ole Miss since 2016. I want to talk about Georgia just for a second. I'm gonna get up on a little soapbox here. Georgia seems to be going up and down. They're winning close games, and then they're absolutely having blowouts. Like they barely beat Kentucky 13-12. They get past Florida by 14, but that really wasn't the score because it was 20-20 with like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then we see them go and blow out Clemson and Texas, but we've seen them get blown out now by Ole Miss. So even though UGA is sitting at 7-2 right now, the only thing I can say about this team is I have to put a question mark on them. I don't know who this team is. I don't know which version of my team is going to show up one week to the next. They're incredibly inconsistent. I think this Georgia team is incredibly talented, but they just haven't executed well at all. So I just don't think that we've been as good. I just don't think we're that good this year, honestly. I had a sliver of hope after the first couple weeks. Even I had even more hope after we beat Texas so bad, and then we come out against Florida like we did, and Ole Miss, and just lost everything. We're just not as good on both sides of the ball. Like Kirby Smart's been saying, we just don't have any depth anymore. And I got to say this, guys. Mike freaking Bobo has got to absolutely go. I mean, dude, we're down by 15 with 3 minutes left. It's like 2nd and 20, and Mike Bobo's like, run a screen. We got to run a screen. It's got to be a screen, guys. It's going to be huge. All right, we're going to run a screen. It's like, dude, stop running screen passes. Stop running touch passes. Like, do anything else. Move the ball down the field. Like, what are we doing, guys? He's not the guy. He's got to go. We've got to get rid of this dude. And I want to talk Carson Beck, too. Has he played his best ball this year? Absolutely not. Far from it. However, our wide receiver core leads the nation. The freaking nation in dropped passes. You know who's below us? UAB. UAB got beat by Tulane 72-21. And we have more dropped passes than they do. I'm not really on board with the Carson Beck hate. I mean, yeah, he's like throwing a lot of freaking picks. And yes, we did lose Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, like who were always automatic. But I am here for freaking tell the receivers to do your job and catch the freaking ball. Speaking of quarterbacks, we're going to move on from that now. Josh Heupel did say that early in this week that Nico should be, keyword should be, good to go this weekend against Georgia. Nico is currently at 65% completion rating with 1,879 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I would actually say Carson Beck has the edge here because he's actually over 2,000 passing yards. He's got more touchdowns, but he's got 7 more interceptions than Nico does, which is crazy. So I'd like to say that he has the edge, but I don't know because maybe if we had the wide receivers that can catch a ball consistently, we would win or get close to winning. But Tennessee, man, they got a really tough defense. I think this will be one of the toughest defenses besides Ole Miss that Georgia will face this year. And I think the same thing for Tennessee. Tennessee's only had 2 SEC road games so far this year against Oklahoma, where they won. Yeah, but we've seen how Oklahoma is. And against Arkansas, where they lost to a team that's not been so great. I mean, they lost to Ole Miss by 30 points. And Tennessee lost to them on the road. They've also had a close game against Florida. And I did a little math earlier for you guys. I want you guys to know they only average in the first half. Tennessee only averages in the first half 7 points. But in 3 games this season against Florida, Arkansas, and Alabama, they scored 0 points in the first half. And in one other game, they scored 3. And in another game, they scored 7. But 3 games they haven't scored in the first half. Now, on the other hand, though, I wanted to mention this. Georgia has not played well in the first half either this season. They are both second half teams. So this could be a really good defensive matchup with 2 quarterbacks who are prone to make mistakes. And then also in the back half of the game, we could see 2 championship caliber teams come out of nowhere. And I think the grittier one's going to win. I think the biggest advantage for Georgia, though, is that this game is at home. What do you guys think? Joey, you're picking first.
I mean, I think that with this Tennessee team, they're honestly a pretty good team. I just think that a lot of their leading players are young. And, their defense is great, but their offense is running into some inconsistencies. And where we saw Tennessee the past few years being more of an air raid type team, they're more so relying on Sampson to, run the ball put the ball on the ground and kind of not actually put the ball on the ground, just run the ball. Right. And when it comes to Georgia against Ole Miss, the run game, it was there. Meanwhile, Ole Miss was able to air out the ball, get past the secondary. There's only really one receiver I can think of or have in mind for Tennessee that I think can beat the secondary, and that's Squirrel White. He's very phenomenal. He's a phenomenal wide receiver.
Oh, he's done it before. He can do it again.
Absolutely. But I will have to say, the game being in Athens, I know going into this game, Kirby is going to be saying, oh, the narrative's against us. Oh, no. Nobody wants the Dogs. And then the Dogs are going to come out and probably put up 50 in the first half. Carson Beck will be on the bench for majority of that. But no, I'm just kidding. But I think Georgia wins this. I want Tennessee to win this. I'm sorry. I do. I just think it would be more interesting for playoff wise for Tennessee to win it. But yeah, I got Georgia winning this one.
So at first glance, I almost go with the Vols. Dylan Sampson has been balling that running back room. I'll be honest. I know Georgia's run defense has been strong, but Georgia overall has struggled, especially offensively. You got to score points to win. Just ask Tennessee, against Arkansas, right? With this game being in Athens, I am going to take Georgia. I think this will be a really close game. I know it's a 10-point spread. I do not think that Georgia covers personally. I like Georgia 7, somewhere between 7 and 9. I think it's a 1, maybe barely a 2-score game. But I do think Georgia wins this game by virtue of being in Athens. But man, I think Tennessee makes it close. I think Dylan Sampson scores a couple of touchdowns from the backfield, and they put up a fight. Nico, as long as Nico plays, if Nico doesn't play, then I think Georgia walks all over him. But if Nico plays, it's a different ball game. But I like Georgia in Athens on Saturday from the Hedges.
Man, this is kind of tough for me as a fan because Heupel really wants this win, guys. He really wants this win. You can tell he's getting his team ready for it. I think that Tennessee's got a really good team. I think that we have a really talented team, but we just don't execute well. Back when we picked Alabama versus Georgia, something that I did is I picked Alabama, and what I said is you need to prove it to me because I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. I don't think you can beat Alabama. And I was right. They didn't. They went on the road and did not win. And I'm in the same boat here. I'm picking Tennessee this week. I just don't trust the Dogs right now. Can't do it. I'm going to pick the Vols to come into Athens and win. I think that Georgia has the advantage here. It's at home. They have the better defense. I think that they have the better offense. But with the way our wide receivers are playing right now and the way that we're not able to get the ground game going and the way Tennessee's defense is played, I mean, the team that just scored or the quarterback that just ran all over LSU got stopped, in the first half and in the entire game for 4 quarters. They're going to be able to do that to us on the road. I guarantee it. So give me the Vols and give me the defense against Georgia this week. I'm not confident in it. I see a score of 21-20. I think this is an incredibly close game. I think our defense, can play well. But man, if Nico is able to throw the ball all over us just like Jackson Dart was, and we can't stop the pass, just like we could with our trash secondary. And I didn't think it was going to be trash after Clemson. I really didn't. I thought KJ Bolden is a stud. I thought Malachi Starks is a stud. But after kind of seeing how things have played out and how many points that we gave up in a lot of the games, I'm starting to feel like, we have some issues. So give me Tennessee to get their first win on the road in Athens since 2016, or just first win against Georgia since 2016. And something else I wanted to point out too, real quick, is that a lot of our streaks have been broken this year. 42-game regular season win streak, gone. Win streak against teams not named Alabama, gone. And home, I think honestly this weekend, I think home win streak of like however many games over the last 4 years, gone. So that's my guess, and I hate it, but prove me wrong, Georgia. That's all I've got to say.